Hi everyone, my name is Nitya, and you are at my Flosstube channel, Daybreak Stitchery. This is a channel all about cross stitch and a tiny bit of crochet today. It's been a couple of months since I've checked in, so I just thought I'd come on today and show you some of the things I've been working on. I have a number of new folks who are here, I think. You've probably come over from maybe Hathaway Stitchers or from Elizabeth, I think Savory Stitches, and from the Violet Stitcher from Anita, and then maybe also just from the usual suspects, Julie, Sarah, and Miriam from Marumi Crafts, Julian Stitches, and Mod Cross. So however you got here, if you're returning or a new viewer, I hope you find something you enjoy here, and you're very welcome here. My pronouns are she, her, and I live, for folks who are new to my channel, I live in the Chicagoland area, and that's, we'll talk about in a moment, but that's on the unceded lands of lots of indigenous groups, the Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, Menominee, Ho-Chunk, Miami, where Chicago area is, has a lot of waterways around us. We have Lake Michigan and then multiple rivers, so there were lots of groups coming through here. So I'm a high school teacher, and I've got 1 week to go, and then I'll be ready for summer. And I teach high school French, and I live with my partner Steve, who's giving a bike tour today. So it'll be real quiet. You won't hear any creaking or screaming at football matches today from upstairs. I think I'm just gonna get right into it. I have so much. I've been waiting for every couple of, I used to do a video at the end of every month, and now every couple of months it all just accumulates. So the nice thing is I have some finishes to show you, so I'm going to start with that. So first up are, actually I wrote out some information on cards. I hope this shows up the correct direction. So these are a couple of gift, I did a little bit of gift stitching. I have an enormous list of gift stitching. Basically, if you and I have ever had an exchange, like a friendly, positive exchange, either on YouTube comments or via email or via Instagram Messenger, you're probably on my list for gift stitching. It will make it to you at some point. I just don't know when. But in April, I participated in the, I think it was April, the fundraiser for the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women. It was the marathon for MMIWG2S, which was the, this is the hashtag right here. And that was a fundraiser. It's kind of an annual fundraiser organized by Stitchers. It's Michelle G, Alicia from Resist Stitch, Jessie from Mislaid Pages, and then there's a whole group, and I know I'm going to forget some folks there, but there's a group that organizes it. And I like to join in on that one. I love learning about indigenous cultures. That's pretty new for me. I mean, basically when I started helping out with that fundraiser, I think this was the third time we did it. So 3 years ago, I did like a learning piece along with it. So I'm always, now I'm hooked. I'm always learning about native cultures that are native to here, especially where I live. And that's been a really good initiative, I think. And we've raised a lot of money, so it's been helpful to do that. So anyway, I usually post it on Facebook because Facebook is like my non-stitchy space. It's like colleagues and friends and family. And I have a lot of people who donate to my Craftivism fundraisers on Facebook. So I decided to make a couple of gift bookmarks for 2 of my donors. So I'll hold them up a little closer here so you can see. So this is by Kincavel, Crosses. It's a freebie. And it's not quite identical to this. It's actually a little bit bigger and longer. The pattern is called Birds and Blooms Bookmark. And like I said, it's a freebie on their webpage. And this is stitched using BeStitchMe. The color is Toast, which is a kind of very dreamy, milky coffee kind of color. It's called Toast, but it reminds me of like a dessert or a beverage. And then it's an 18 count Ada. And I used a variety. I just grabbed a bunch of pinks from Stash. And I made them all pink because these 2 bookmarks are going to 2 friends of mine who are also French teachers. One of them is actually my former middle school French teacher. She's in kind of my circle of French teacher friends, and they always donate. Whenever I put a Craftivism fundraiser out, they always donate. So I've had it in my mind for a long time to stitch something that says La Vie en Rose, like maybe a Quaker or something, and then make it in pink colors. So when I saw this, oh, I thought maybe I had a loose end I hadn't tucked in, but it's fine. When I saw this pattern and all these kind of loose motifs, I thought, okay, perfect. I'm going to stitch this. So I had to adapt it a little bit. The original pattern is wider and longer, and it wouldn't fit on these little skinny pieces of wood. So this is a pack of wooden bookmarks, just blank bookmarks. They are from Cards of Wood Co. Cards of Wood Co., which is a vendor on Etsy. And they just sell like a stack. I should have brought them here. They sell like a little stack of wooden bookmarks. They're all different. You can get a set of just whatever. They throw in whatever kinds of wood it is. And they make for great cross-stitch finishing. It's just super flat wood. And then I just cut very carefully around the Ada and I glue it down. All the edges and everything. So I don't do any other kind of like stitching around the edges or anything. I can just glue it down and call it a day. And that's that. I think they turned out pretty okay. And I'd like to stitch these, collectively this took maybe 3 or 4, I would say 4 nights to do, let's say 4 evenings of stitching. I stitched the one, then immediately stitched the other right next to it, and then did the cutting out. The cutting out and gluing down took probably a half hour to cut it out carefully and do that. So I belong to the Windy City chapter of the Embroiderers Guild of America, and they're doing a project where they want us to stitch bookmarks to be donated to the library, the public library where we have our meetings in Chicago. So these would be some easy ones. I think I'll make up some of these. And anyway, these will be out in the mail because they're going to their recipients very soon. Or maybe I'll see them in person. We'll have to see. Okay, next finish is... I'll have to throw up a picture because this was also a gift and I already gave it to the person. And it was also a bookmark. But the pattern is Eclipse Bird. Maybe I'll put a picture here first. It's Eclipse Birds, and it's by Pixie Cross Stitch, and it was a freebie in honor of the eclipse that happened in early April. And I have a colleague, I make stuff for my colleague. Like I have a baby blanket today I'm going to show you for a colleague who just had a baby. I make stuff for my colleagues, and I have a colleague who was just in love, like so super fascinated with the eclipse. And she was excited about it. She planned like a year ahead of time. She planned out, where she wanted to be to see it and everything, and it was a very exciting moment for her. So when I saw that freebie, I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to make this for her. And this person is also a regular donor for my Craftivism fundraiser. So I thought this is perfect. Actually, a really cute thing once this colleague of mine had texted me. She had been on vacation somewhere. I think she was in South Carolina or something. And, on a family trip. And she texted me because she had gone into, have I told you this story already? Sometimes I forget what stories I've told. But anyway, I'm telling it again. She had been in, how in hotel rooms there's like a side room with like maybe a vending machine and the ice maker. So she had been in there getting ice, and there was a basket of just little crocheted knickknacks, like hearts and little different shapes and things. And each one had a little tag on it that said it was from the Crochet Random Acts of Kindness, which is a Facebook group. There's probably one for knitting and maybe one for cross stitch too. I don't know. But basically people just crochet stuff and then like leave them in public places for other people to take if they enjoy that. And she loved it. She's someone who really appreciates handicrafts and like the time that goes into it. So I knew when I saw that Eclipse Birds, I was like, I'm making this for her. So here's the info on it. So Pixie. And I did it on it's definitely a Mystic Fabrics. It's like a scrap of Mystic Fabrics. And I actually have I can show it to you here because this is the rest of it. So it was on a piece of fabric that looks like this. It's definitely Mystic. I think it's like Reflection or Chinchilla maybe. Oh, I bet it's Chinchilla. Actually, I said that it was Reflection or Diversity, but I think I remember Chinchilla had like a blue tinge to it. But anyway, it's an 18 count Ada. It's got a little bit of modeling like that. And I just thought that kind of looked like here, I don't know how the Eclipse was where you were at, but here it didn't get totally dark. I don't know if it did in other places. I don't remember, but you know, it didn't get totally, it was a partial, like an almost complete eclipse here. So this kind of matched like the skies on that day. So I thought that would be good. She loved it. I had left it on her desk before she got to work and she just loved it. So I can't recommend enough. Cards of Wood Co. Man, stitching bookmarks has been a real, like, now I want to stitch everybody a bookmark. It's a really easy way to send someone a stitched item, and I know a lot of us are readers too, so it feels like a perfect gift for someone. Okay, and then I have another finish. So last month I had shown you my We Go On. Do I have it over here? Hold that thought for a second. I'm going to see if I can find it. No, I don't have it. Sorry, everybody. I thought I was going to show you. Anyway, I stitched We Go On. It's by Dee from Dee's 20 Stitches. And then I immediately started another one. I finished one, and then I immediately started another one. And so I finished that one too. So here's the second one. And can you tell what it is? It's a dragon kind of curled, a dragon skeleton curled up and sleeping. And there's, here's like the foot, right, the leg and the foot right here. And it says We Go On. And I love this pattern. I'm a big fan of patterns that have this like negative stitching all around it. I love the way it looks. And I'm like mentally ready to start a third one. I feel like I'm just going to, this is a gift for someone. So I just feel like making more of them. They take, excuse me, less time with a monochromatic color. So this, what Sulky is it? Hold on. Let me show you the card. We Go On, Dee's 20 Stitches. This was a Vintage Country Mocha 20 count, which goes great with Sulky. One strand of Sulky. I mean, to tell you the truth, if you look really close, it's not super, super tight coverage. There's some gaps in there. You're probably looking at it like rolling your eyes, but I noticed. But it stitches up really fast when it's just one strand. So it's surprisingly quick to stitch. I bet, well, I switch around my projects a lot. Like I didn't do this all in one go, you know? But if I had, I could maybe do it in a week. If I had dedicated only this project to my stitching time, I think I could do it in a week. So, let's say collectively, if you patched together all the times I worked on it, it would have come up to like a week of stitching time. So, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to go look at my Sulkies and start another one. Probably. I really love it. The first one I did was in a, I don't know if you remember. I'm going to actually look and see if I can find it. You're going to hear some noises for a second. Hold that thought, because I want to show it to you. And I don't really want to stop and edit my videos today with multiple edits, so just gonna look at this and see. Oh gosh darn it, I don't have it. Well, maybe I'll have to throw up a picture in the end, but I had done it with a Sulky that has multiple colors. Sorry, you probably just did not have a very nice view there for a few minutes. I did it in a Sulky that has multiple colors, and I had done it in like this little patchwork technique where you do like a few stitches in one direction and then a few more back and kind of go back and forth, so it creates like these little patches of color. That one took a little bit longer because I was being intentional about like where the coloration should go a little bit, so this was super easy. So we will see. I'm going to go check out my Sulky box this evening and then see what I can do with that. Okay, and then last finish, I told you I had crocheted something, which is a baby blanket for a colleague of mine. And the whole thing, I'm sitting too close to you to notice, but I'll just kind of pan over it. You won't get to see the whole thing, I don't think. There, you're kind of seeing the whole thing there. So it's just a big granny square blanket, and it's a filled-in granny square, so instead of having, like in a granny square, you normally have gaps. So it looks kind of lacy. This is just solid, like there's just everything is stitched. And this is using Sirdar Snuggly yarn, which I have in stash. And I just picked two bright colors, and I went with it. So I think it turned out pretty good. This pink is actually really pretty. It's not it's showing up a little brighter even on screen than what it is, but it's sort of a heathery pink. It's got like a cloudiness to it, which is kind of nice. My only beef with it, and this is, you know, we're always more critical of our work than anything else, right? Is that my tension is really tight when I first start. You start it in the center and then work your way around the whole way around. So my tension is really tight in the center, but then it loosens up on the outside, so it gets kind of wobbly. My edges are a little wobbly on the outside, but it's fine. My colleague who it's going to won't mind. So I'm going to take this over this week, I think, and put some like ready-made food packs and stuff in there too, just in case you're feeling like they don't want to make any food. So I think those were all my finishes. And I've been kind of on a gift stitching kick. We'll see if that continues. I hope it does, because I have a lot of people on my list I want to stitch for. Okay, so next up are whips. So first one is, here's the info on it. It's going to be Lina's hanging design, and it's by a designer named Lina's Thobe on Etsy. And let me show it to you. This one you've seen before because I've been working on it for a long time now. It's going to be a mashup of all these different Tatreez patterns, Palestinian Tatreez. So the one over here on this side, this whole pattern, like all of this here is a pattern by Ele Elna, which I think is called Palestinian Patterns. And it's in the January World of Cross Stitching magazine, January 2023 World of Cross Stitching magazine. So that's what that one is. And then up here, this is actually not by a Palestinian designer, but it's by a designer named Hib Stitches, who created this as a freebie where if you donated to Palestinian Children's Relief, I think, and sent evidence of your donation, you could get a copy of this pattern. This is Cypress Pendant, and it's by Tirazane Initiative, which is an awesome, like a cultural archive of Palestinian Tatreez embroidery motifs. And they've done a lot of research. So with Tatreez, like location is really important. A lot of motifs were tied to villages and cities. So this one is from Gaza. Cypress Pendant is from Gaza. And then the one I worked on this month was this one down here. And that is Lina's hanging design. Excuse me. And it's going to be a partial design. So actually in the real pattern, here's the top. And then this is the halfway point. This triangle right here is the halfway point. And then really, this whole thing is supposed to get repeated on this side. But there's a line, the Deco Elian pattern has a border that comes down here. So I'm only going to stitch part of that Lina's hanging design. I'm going to make it fit in that space. So I'm just going to go as far as I can until I hit the line. And then keep working my way down. So I'm really going to only stitch like a quarter and like a little bit of this pattern. But I love it. I think it's so pretty. I know that like this right here and these, I know those are cypress motifs. This is a feather motif here. I need to still learn where everything is from, which villages and cities everything is from. I used red and green because those are the colors of the Palestinian flag. And I went with like variations of red and green. So I have a dark red and like a pinky red, and then a deeper green, and then a bright green. And I'm using the same, and black, and I'm using the same colors throughout. So I'm not adding any new colors or anything. I'm going to, whatever I work, I'm going to use those same 4 colors and rearrange, you know, like how in what order I use them on the different motifs. And that's what I'll do. So this one has quite a bit of stitching on it, actually. Like, if you think about it, you're not filling in this band totally as a solid stitch, but you are stitching every other row. So that's a lot of stitches. These are all filled in here. There's a lot of fill in. These cypress motifs are kind of filled in. So there's just, yeah, there are a lot of stitches in it. But it's on an 18 count Aida. This is BeStitchMe Hot Chocolate. It's 18 count. It's one of my favorite new neutrals. Very pretty, light modeling, and it showcases bright colors really well. So these are the DMC colors I used on it. And I'm not very happy with how DMC is handled. Their their attempt to acknowledge Palestinian crosses, they haven't done a good job of it. So I'm trying not to. I'm not being very mentiony of them today. But I do have a lot of colors of their colors in stash, so I'm using it. And this was also one of my stitches that I was stitching on 2 indigenous peoples patterns for that when I was working on that fundraiser. One of them was a pattern by Anna, who's Peruvian Flare. This is her pattern too. This is Chimu Birds. And I was stitching on another pattern of hers during the fundraiser, and then I was working on this one as well. So, you know what? I mentioned I'm a high school teacher, and I work in a very diverse high school. So, like, if we were to poll, let's say we were to poll, like, how many different cultures are represented in our school, easily 100, like more than 100 maybe. We have lots and lots of diversity in our school. And we have in the community, a significant Palestinian American population. Okay? So when you work in a school, in a community, you communicate together. You learn from each other. You laugh together. You grieve together. You hear each other's stories. This is how I've been introduced to what's going on in Palestine right now. So my comfort level, when I mention Palestine, I bet you there are some stitchers who are like, oh no, she's mentioning this again. You know what? My comfort level with it is in a different place than where yours might be. But guess what? There's a really easy way for you to maybe increase your learning about Palestinian culture, especially stitching. And that's right here in our community. I mean, I cannot recommend enough Tatreez Talk, the podcast. It's hosted by Amani from Minamani Designs and Lina from Lina's Thobe. They do a podcast on stitching, and it's awesome. If you love, come on, who doesn't love? What do we all do? We sit and we stitch and we listen to Flosstubes. That's what we do with our time. So throw Tatreez Talk into the mix. And that way, if you're feeling either uninformed or like cringy when people mention Palestine or uncomfortable, you break down discomfort by communicating and listening to people's stories. That's what you do. It makes you a little bit more open-minded, a little less kind of standoffish around things like that. And we have resources right in our community to get a little bit of insight into what's going on there. So please do that. Please do that. Please add some Palestinian culture to your life, okay? And voices too. It's been transformative for me. I feel like I've learned so much, and I just love my Palestinian students and colleagues. They're just the sweetest people. I feel like learning about Tatreez has added so much to my stitching too. I do a lot of I enjoy cultural stitching anyway, so I feel like it's just added one more flavor to that. So that is what I recommend. And then also give, I mean, what did I give to this time? Hang on. I changed that. Usually when I stitch on that Tatreez piece, I donate to places too. So usually it's Palestinian Children's Relief Fund or Heal Palestine. Both are doing really good work for kids in Rafah and in Gaza in the camps and things. But I changed it up this time. This time I donated to Delia Arts Foundation, which is creating shelters for artists, musicians and artists, the arts community, because one of the things that's happening over there is it's an attempt to erase the culture, right? To erase creative people, the people who do creative things to continue a culture. So musicians and creative people are really at risk. So this is an organization that helps. And I just found out too that it's Delia Arts Foundation, and I'll link them below. They also run supports in Congo, and stuff is going on in Congo right now. I have a Congolese American student, so I got some insights into what's going on there too. And then I also donated to, this is I didn't know about this one at all. And I'm going to mispronounce it because I didn't practice my pronunciations ahead of time, but it's Ele Elna Elak. I think it's an Arabic phrase, Ele Elna Elak, which translates to what we own, you own. And it's kind of like their mission is solidarity, like shared responsibility and shared resources. And I found out about them through Bisan, Bisan Ode. No, is Bisan's last name Ode? Well, I'll look it up and I'll link her name below. Wizard Bisan on Instagram. And she had posted a video recently where the area that she's in finally got access to water. There's a truck with water bottles. They were distributing water bottles, and she said it was through this organization that was able to get through and provide water aid. So I donated to them. So find your cause, be helpful. I've been reading about what's it called, Operation Olive Branch too. They're working on help. I mean, the border crossings are closed right now, so I don't know how it all works, but there are families that are trying to get to, like, the rest of their family in Egypt, for example, or just trying to get out to safety. So that's an organization that helps get families to safety there. So there are so many great causes, and yeah, that's all. I gotta say, that's what I said. I said what I said. Okay. That was a whip. I have another whip. What do I have? Oh, I know. Okay, so yes, this is a whip, but it's also a restart because it was an old start from a couple years ago that I dekitted. It's Cirque des Cœurs, Circus of Hearts, Circus of the Hearts, and it's by Ink Circles, Cirque des Cœurs, and I restarted it because let me find it. Okay, so I had gotten this floss when I ordered We Go On from D. It came with a Brin and Needle floss, which, by the way, I've been hearing on Flosstubes people pronouncing this needle, but I'm pretty sure that accent mark right there makes it a long E so that it's needle. Maybe somebody can confirm that, but their logo has a long E accent on it, so I think it's Brin and Needle. But anyway, it came with this floss called Stranger Things, and it's like a beautiful reddish brown, dark reddish brown floss. And I wasn't using it for We Go On because it came with one skein and I didn't think it would be enough. And this is hard to source. I went ahead and used it for something else, but now I'm going to be in a pickle because they don't often sell this on their website, and so I'm running out of it. This is what I have left. But here's what I did with my Cirque des Cœurs start. Let's see if I can hold it up. It's really tiny. See how tiny it is? Because I'm really diving into tiny stitching, 1/1. This fabric, I haven't, it came unlabeled because it was in like a small bag of like small cuts of fabric. So I don't know what it is or what count it is, but I can count it out eventually. And I'm stitching 1/1. My camera won't focus in enough, but my guess it's a 36 count. That's kind of what it looks like to me. It's great though. It's whatever it is, it's perfect. And it feels different than a normal linen. So I don't know what fabric this is. It just feels a little bit thicker of a weave. It's not so like you know how linen is usually very see-through and sheer. This feels a little bit more substantial to it. So I don't know what it is, but I love it. And I want to track it down. I want someone who can tell me what it is because the 1/1 stitching on this is really perfect. So here's what it looks like so far. And this is a very pretty floss. I don't know, are you seeing how it gets kind of variegated in some parts? Some parts are darker red and some parts are lighter. So I will keep going with it. This is how far I've been able to get so far on about a half a skein. So I'm going to get pretty far with the remainder, but I'm going to run out. I'm going to run out of this. So I've been monitoring the website to see if I can get my hands on another one. And if I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I will, you know, because it's a cotton floss, so maybe I'll just see if Cosmo has like something comparable, one of those shades that's within the variegation, and then just what I may do is with the remaining skein that I have, I'll be kind of really sporadic about where I stitch. I'll kind of put little motifs everywhere. And that way, if I have to turn to a Cosmo, like a single color to fill in the gaps, it won't look like only one section is all single color. It'll kind of be peppered in all throughout. That's probably what I'll have to do. Something like that. But they did, you know, I emailed them at Bren and Needle, and they said they wouldn't be making some more. So maybe in the end I'll be able to find it. So that again, I'll hold up the info again. It's Cirque des Cœurs, Ink Circle, Circus of the Hearts. It's that whole series, you know, there's like Circus of Squares, Cirque des Carrés, Cirque des Triangles, there I think triangles, and maybe a circles one too. And they're all really nice. Like it's all these kind of mashed up motifs all together. Like, I don't know if you saw in this. See how there are all different sizes of hearts? Like these huge ones, but then this little one in here, this in here, and these little guys up here. These curvy ones here. So I think all of these geometric ones kind of work the same way. It's all these different sizes of the same shape, spread out all over. Okay, next up, oh, well, it's my whole series of projects I started and all my moments of weakness over the past 2 months. So maybe we won't talk about it. We'll just go into it. Okay. So first up, March 31st was Trans Day of Visibility, and Dee put out this pattern, which is Know Thyself. I'll probably have to put up a picture off to the side here of what it'll look like. I really love this pattern. I think it's very moving, and it's beautiful. And I just had to make it down to that eye. I spent a weekend on this. It's stitching up fast. This is on Picture This Plus Sterling. It's an 18 count Ada, so it's just stitching up quick. And these are, hold on, I'll tell you what the colors are. Here we go. It's a mix of Cosmo and other floss from Stash. And I think it's just beautiful. It's sort of, I don't know. I just find it very moving. It's very dramatic, I think, is what it is. Very dramatic and moving. And I love that the colors are so similar. I'm using, not the called for colors, but I'm using the same palette. So it's basically primary colors and then a green. This is it. These are the colors. And so, I love this. This blue is Cosmo 2214. That's sort of like cobalty kind of blue, or is it cobalt? Sky, like a dark sky blue almost. It's very dreamy. And I, instead of going, what I've been trying to do with colors is, like, same with the Tatreez pattern, you know, you could go with like your standard red or green for that, right? But then I thought, well, why don't I do variations of red and green? And that would give me some tones to play with. And that's the same kind of thing I was going with here. Instead of kind of like a standard red and green, well, let me pick a sort of like a pinky red and maybe a medium blue instead of just like a royal blue. And then this green, since those two are so bright, I went for kind of a more muted yellow and green to balance it out a little bit. So I just love it. I think it's so pretty, and I can't wait to keep going on it. Oh, here are the colors right here, actually. So this is the Cosmo Green. 536A is that color. This yellow is beautiful. 773. It's sort of like a golden yellow. Very pretty, but kind of muted as well, you know, not super bright. And then this is the pinky red. Oh, that's the other brand, 304. And this is that blue. So anyway, it's a nice color palette, and I'll look forward to doing a little bit more on this. Definitely have to look in on our queer friends, and check in on our trans community. There's a lot of trans hate out there. I don't know about international friends. I don't know how it is where you're at, but things are happening here that sound kind of scary. So, you know, it's good for us to keep learning about what's going on and speaking up and supporting, definitely trying to support our friends, and for me, my students too, who, you know, might be victims of hate going on right now. We have to make sure we're there for them for that. Okay, next. Oh no, I was gonna tell you. Hold on, let me see if I'm missing anything in my notes. Oh, I got to see. They do a really cool thing here in the Chicago area. We have a humanities festival. It's a citywide festival and it runs for a few months, and it's where very prominent like thinkers and writers are invited to give like talks on different topics. And so I got to see Judith Butler. Do you know who that is? They're like a legendary, kind of a legend in gender studies, and they write on gender. And they put out a really good book. If you're still, Dee had us last year, especially reading LGBTQ plus voices, being really good about diversifying our reading. I 100% recommend Judith Butler's book, because they're tapping into like this idea of hate and why do people fear. The book is called Who's Afraid of Gender, because that is like the answer to that is I think a lot of people, and she poses the question, well, why? What's going on that people are thinking that it's something to be scared of when it's not really anything. And so that's where the starting point of what she dives into, or what they dive into, sorry. And they just gave a really great talk on like how do you talk to people who might not seem eye to eye, and so much of it comes back to connecting on a personal level and trying to share stories and trying to understand each other through your experiences. So I kind of feel like I keep coming back to that. Like, if you identify someone as different, then maybe that's not a them problem. Maybe that's an us problem. We got to figure out why is it that you react to somebody that way, and what is it about you that makes you feel awkward around somebody else. And anyway, that was a really great talk. I also got to see Ruha Benjamin, and Ijeoma Oluo, who wrote So You Want to Talk About Race. That was a really good. They were all on one day. No, Judith Butler, I saw them on, that was a couple months, that was in April, early April, but there was a Saturday when we just saw a whole bunch of these talks of really very inspirational people. So that was a good day, that day. But anyway, I'll share, if you're interested in their book, I'll share, they did do an interview with the New York Times, and the interview is really good. It's very insightful on what the book's all about. So I'll link it below in case you want to read a little bit more about that book. Okay, next up is what? Oh, okay, this is by Stitchy Princess Black. Katerina? I'm very worried about her. She had posted on Instagram, I think it was early May, that she was going to be in the hospital with food poisoning, and she's in Odessa, and stuff's going down in Odessa. Things sound pretty dangerous over there too. So Katerina is someone who every couple months or so I buy a pattern from her, even if it's not one I'm not necessarily going to stitch right away, or it's not on my radar to stitch. Sometimes I rebuy the same pattern multiple times because all of that is like direct mutual aid for her to survive a war. So I try to get patterns, and she put out this one recently, and she's stitching it monochromatically as well. And it's Deers in the Wood is what it's called. And it's got all sorts of tiny motifs that come all around, and there's a pair of deer in the center. And so I'm stitching this with Cosmo 927. It's like kind of a dark foresty olive green. And I'll continue. It's 1/1 on a 28 count of some kind. I think it's from that pack of XJU Designs. I had a pack of smalls from XJU Designs that were all the same, like kind of the size of a sheet of paper, and they were all 28 count. So I tend to stitch 1/1 on those. So far I've gotten this little owl and this deer. I tell you what, now that I'm stitching this monochromatically, I want to take another look at her patterns. There are usually a lot of color changes. There are a lot bright colors and a lot of color changes, so I'm not quick to go to them. But I would definitely stitch more of them monochromatically like this, because I like how all the motifs are very clear. You can tell what everything is. So taking another look at that, and hopefully things will be okay over there with her. But she's Stitchy Princess Black on Etsy and on Instagram too. Okay. Next up is, I'll show you this. I'll show you this one. I decided to start a new one by Yasmin Made with Love. And it's Tree of Life. It's the one, if you watch Yaz's videos, it hangs like behind her shoulder, like right behind her. And I just spend a lot of time staring at it while she's talking. So I was like, I better just start this. And so this is on, well, I don't entirely know what this fabric is. I think it might be Fiber on a Whim. And I think it might be wheat, which I have in both Aida and linen. So I think this is the Aida version of Fiber on a Whim wheat. That's my guess, because it has like little bits of green tinge here, which I think wheat has. And it's beautiful. It's just in one color, and it just has a motif that repeats multiple times. It's got like 3 repeats of this tree and the birds. Yes, I actually did a part 2 to this like a companion piece to this pattern that's full of people dancing. It's really sweet also. But same kind of thing. It's a monochromatic piece, so very easy, stitches up fast. I just spent like a weekend putting this together, and so that should be easy to keep going on. I love that. Now I'll have one behind me that people can stare at too. It's a really nice pattern. Okay, this is let me hold up some of my info here on these. So this is for Deers in the Wood. Here's the info. Stitchy Princess Black was that one. And I put on here 28 count vintage country mocha, but I don't think it is. I think it's one of those XJU designs, like a mystery pack. And then Cosmo 927 was that color. And then this is the info for Tree of Life by Yasmin's Made with Love. And it's on that 18 count Aida. And I'm stitching it 2/2. Okay, next up, I joined the bird herd. Amity and Erin have a Flosstube channel. They're 2 sisters who have a Flosstube channel. I think we all know them now. And they make me laugh. I enjoy watching them. And Amity designed a pattern. They stitch on a lot of birds, and so she designed a pattern called the Bird Herd. And so my bird is not identifiable yet, but there's excuse me, this is the 3rd bird, I think, and then there'll be a 4th one here. This is the body and the chest right here. The legs will come down here, and then we're heading into the neck and head right here. And there's a set of feathers coming up here. So I'm enjoying it. This is another one of those XJU 28 count pieces of fabric. And I'm stitching 1/1 with a mix of flosses from Stash. One that I really like is this kind of this bright teal here. See how it variegates? That's one. I don't use this brand often, but now I'm intrigued. It's by Stitchy Stuff Co. Where's my card on it? So here's Stitchy Stuff Co. And it's Beach Glass is the color. Let me show you that again. Isn't that so nice? Kind of the light and dark shades in it. I'm taking a second look at that one because I like the way that turned out. This whole arrangement of colors, these are not the called for colors I picked from Stash, but I matched the color palette that Amity had provided. So I don't know what was going on here. I made this feather a dark green, but then made this dark blue. I don't know. I might fix that. I don't know if that's going to make sense or not, but everything else I really love I basically tried to match the pattern. So I'll keep that going. I would like to have this, Julie and Miriam and Sarah and I love to get together and stitch over Zoom usually, but we're going to meet in person later this summer. And one of the things I've kind of had in my mind to do is like to establish the ambiance of a stitchy retreat is to take some of my finished pieces that have to do with like stitchy friends And so I thought Bird Herd would be a great one to finish and take and have like on display, you know, for us. So I'll work on it. Okay. We have more new starts because I was just in various moments of weakness and I started everything. And that's what I do anyway. I just do. Let's just go with it. I had a trying weekend with my family a few weeks ago, and do you ever have those moments with family where things are going great, you're having a really good time, and then you just take it a little bit, like you spend a little bit too much time with them, or just like you've spent a whole lot of time together and just somebody says something that's just people are tired, take the wrong way, and so I just flew a little bit too close to the sun with my family, with a family gathering, and I got, I finished. They had come over and they had left, and I just messaged Julie and Sarah and Miriam, and I said, my family stinks. I'm binge starting a new project. I'm frustrated. I'm going to start a new project. And so I decided to start White Winter Moth by Kathy Barrick, which was gifted to me by Sarah. And she picked out this beautiful, Sarah is kind of a queen of purple shades. She stitches and uses a lot of purple, and I know she's paying attention to a lot of purple materials. And so she picked out, this one is a Fox and Rabbit, it's Tibucina, and it's really pretty. Tibucina is a purple flower found in Australia. And so she had sent me the pattern and this fabric, and the called for fabric is more of like a neutral. And so I thought, oh my gosh, but good job, Sarah, because these are more or less, it's some of the colors are called for, like this dark green is, you know, that like 501 or 500, that's like the blue-green family. It's the darkest shade in that one. So that's called for, actually. There's a yellow that's called for. There's like this kind of medium green that's called for. They're not exactly the called for colors, but they're from Stash, pretty close to matching. The only thing I'm not doing is actually putting white in it. I know it's called White Winter Moth, but instead I'm using this pale teal here, this one that's hanging down. And then the actual moth, I want to fill in, I have a variegated floss that has a lot of these tones in it, just much lighter. So I'm going to use that and see if I can do like variegated wings on the moth. So, but anyway, you were so right to pick out this fabric, Sarah, because it looks beautiful. And I'm excited to work on this. I'm already almost at, I think, I didn't bring the picture down here. I think there's maybe one more motif and then it's the end on this side. This is the center. I started here. And then you can see a little bit of the moth's body. Here's the info on it. It's White Winter Moth by Kathy Barrick. And the fabric was Fox and Rabbit. Okay, next up, this month, Jerica, who's Daybreak Stitcher, and maybe Sarah and Julie, were you part of this as well? I know Jerica started it, wanted to do a hashtag Marumi May to stitch on patterns by Miriam. And I'm 100% on board with that. So Miriam put out a pattern that I'm in love with. It's it's in her series of Weird and Wonderful Creatures. And this one is called Dare Lengdar. And it's a tree monster. And it's fantastic. It's basically based on like legend. Oh, hold on. I printed it out to read to you. But I don't think my printer printed out everything. But Dare Lengdar translates to a tree that grew legs. It's part of the Weird and Wonderful collection. There's a legend in some northern villages of Iran of a revengeful sentient tree. Legend has it, if you cut, now this part is missing on my printout. Basically, if you cut down a tree that's healthy, that's meant to be living, but you cut it down, the earth shakes and the tree stands up out of the ground, pulls out its roots, and then transforms into a Dare Lengdar, an angry sentient tree screaming for revenge and calling its siblings out of the forest. Tree rage! And then they will attack the village until they find and devour those. Miriam, I love your language on this too. I I'm feeling all the tree rage and I love it. So, I'm putting this on this crazy fabric is a one of a kind by Jessie at Mislaid Pages. It's beautiful. It feels sort of like psychedelic woodsy or something, and it feels like it captures the emotional spirit of our friend here. And because this fabric is so pretty, actually, like the top of the pattern, here's the pattern. So these big dials here, these medallions here, is pretty close to the top border. But what I'm going to do, I want to salvage as much of this. Not salvage. I want to include as much of this fabric as possible. So what I'm going to do is extend the borders, make the borders go along the far edges. And then I'm going to take, my printout is terrible. You won't see it, but on the arms of this Dar Elna, there's like a half motif here. I don't know if you can see that right here. So I'm going to make it a whole motif. I'm going to take the whole motif of that and fill in the open spaces. Like, instead of running the border here, if I run the top border here, so I can capture all these beautiful colors in the fabric, I'm going to have all this open space here. So I'm just going to fill it in with 1/1 tiny medallions all over to fill up that space a little bit, but still reveal the fabric. So that's the plan. The bottom border I may just leave the same, or I might do the same thing. I might, because look at how pretty it is down at the bottom too. So I may do the same thing, just extend the entire border and fill in all these open gaps with those medallions and see how that goes. Or Miriam on this Weird and Wonderful collection, she always has really interesting standalone motifs that are in every single, like her Magical Carpet Menagerie had that too. There was always some kind of like standalone medallion or something there. So I think there's a lot to draw from with Miriam's patterns. So I will do something, but I don't have it in me to cut out, like a thin strip of fabric here. I know I won't find a good use for that. So I'd rather just keep it all as one piece, one big piece, and stitch it that way. I'm using my new favorite green, which is Cosmo 538. Look at that. That's true to color right there. So it's a beautiful, like a dark jade kind of color. Or what do we want to call this? Is it emeraldy? I don't know, but I just love it. It has a tinge of tealness to it, but it's way more green. And it's DMC 538. So that's what I'm using on top for this. And it almost looks black, doesn't it? But it is definitely green. Look at the eyes. I'm loving all these eyes I'm getting to stitch these days. Okay, here's the info on it. So Dar Elna, Marumi Designs. Miriam has an Etsy page where you can find patterns. It's a one-of-a-kind, 40 count, and I'm using 2 strands on it. It's a little bunched up in some places, but it's working fine. And Cosmo 538 on that one. Okay, I have 2 more to go. So one is, let me get the info on this because this is a new to me designer. So the pattern is Eye of the Beholder, and it's by Jessica Doise, who goes by Jed X Stitch. And I think she's got another design name as well, because she designs like dice holders, I think, for folks who do gaming. I don't know enough about that bit of it. But anyway, Eye of the Beholder is an outstanding, huge sampler full of eyes. And I love it. The color palette drew me first because it's like this dark teal, which I had in stash. It's a Color and Cotton Abyss, and I have this color. So that's what really encouraged me to, look at this. And then I had enough colors from stash where I could do the rest. And I'm stitching it 1/1 on a 36 count to save, what am I trying to say? To conserve floss a bit. because one of the things, I don't know if you run into this too, is that, you know, early on in my I'm in year 4 of Flosstube, but early on in Flosstube, I was, you know, joining clubs, getting kind of single skeins of all different kinds, trying all different sorts of products. And so I have all these single skeins of floss, and then a project like this comes along, and normally I would do this 2/2 on a 36 count, but then the colors I want to use, like this is Purple Parrot by Color and Cotton. It's a beautiful purple, beautiful variegated purple, but I have only one skein of it. And I know for sure Color and Cotton, I've needed more floss of a certain color, and the dye lots are very different. So I know if I want to use this purple, I'm limited to that one skein that I have. So then I started stitching 1/1. It can serve some of the floss. So Abyss I actually have 2 skeins of, but I'm still using 1/1. This is not Color and Cotton. I don't remember what this is. This lime green for this eyeball is Cottage Garden Threads. And that one came over the holidays. They were selling like misdyed packs or like one-off kind of colors, one-of-a-kind colors in packs for $10 for like 6 skeins or something like that. So this came in that pack. So again, I do have 2. There were 2 of that same color in the pack, but I'm fussy cutting it. I should have brought it here to show you. It's part of the skein is this lime green, and the other part gets to be more of a forest green. So I'm fussy cutting those lime green parts and using just that. And there's a tiny bit of it. I'm letting a little bit of that dark green come in on the bottom, and then I'm using this Abyss to fill in the center of the eyeballs there. So I'm finding this is what is this fabric? It's my guess is that it's that 36 count wheat by Fiber on a Whim. I know I have a linen and an Ada of that, so I think that's what this is, but I could be wrong. All of my fabrics, when I organized them, the labels fell out, and I don't remember what everything is, but anyway, I'm really loving this. I think it's beautiful, and it'll be tiny. It'll be like 4 inches by 6 inches when I finish it. So anyway, we'll see where that goes. There'll be one huge eye here. I'll try to put in a picture of the pattern. There's a huge eye on the bottom corner, and she's actually provided 2 different charts for it. In one chart, that eyeball has some like vines or like leafy material in it. And then on another variation, she provides the chart for if you want to stitch the words, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, into that eye. You can do that too, which I might do. I like stitching fonts, so I might do that. So that's that one. And then last but not least, you know, it's a Memorial Day weekend here, and it means thinking of, you know, people who fought for your country, but for me it means so much more now. It just means thinking about people who are suffering, or people who are experiencing a lack of freedom, and what it means to fight for land that you care about. So I picked up by Ancient Sage Designs her Remembrance sampler, and it's based on all of her patterns are based on Asian textiles of different kinds. So this is based on a pattern that featured poppies, and poppies are meaningful flower in lots of different cultures. And so I thought, oh, this is perfect. And I have kind of a personal connection to it too, because I have a single poppy that bloomed in my garden this spring. And it was this color. This color from Stash just perfectly matched it. So it all just came together, and I thought, I think this is what I want to work on this weekend. So I started this a few days ago, and here's how far I've gotten on that. And it's really beautiful. It's very pretty, like these vines and kind of bloom motifs, and also these kind of repeated patterns on the edges. It's just a really nice stitch. I really like Shazida is Ancient Sage Designs, and she does some really beautiful kind of taking original pieces of like pottery or a textile, and then, you know, creating patterns inspired by them. So Remembrance sampler, and this is Ancient Sage Designs. And this, I think, is a 36 count wheat by Fiber on a Whim. And I'm using color from Stash. And I had shared on Instagram a really beautiful essay on being able to both honor what Memorial Day or like Remembrance Day means to you and your country, and also at the same time honor what Palestinians are going through. Poppies are a significant flower in Palestinian culture too. So that essay was by Katanya Harrison, and it's on Medium is the website. So if you Google Katanya Harrison and Medium, you'll find it there. Okay, that was everything. Shall we talk plans real quick? Because I'm starting a Sal with Amy Graham, and we're starting it in July, and you might want to join in. Let me find my info on it. Oh, I have 2 Sals to talk about. Okay, so it's the Monarch Watch Sal. Amy and I are both monarch butterfly enthusiasts. Her family plants a lot of milkweed, which is the plant that monarch butterflies feed on and reproduce on. And I have a huge patch. I have a small patch, and I threw a whole bunch of milkweed seeds down in a corner of my yard last year, and they're all coming up. So I'm hoping to have a larger patch of milkweed this summer and invite lots of monarchs to come. I have a neighbor who already saw their first monarch egg on their milkweed. But anyway, so there are a few patterns related to monarch butterflies, and we thought you might want to join us in stitching. And I'd like to really encourage you, if you have a yard and you're able to plant, please seek out whatever, if you're in the path of the monarch migration, many parts of the Midwest will be in, probably south too, because they travel between here and Mexico and Central America. So find out if monarchs are in your path. It'd be great if you can plant monarch, whatever plants monarchs need to feed on. I'll show you. I didn't quite get out into the garden today, but eventually, maybe this summer, when a few more things are blooming, I'll get out in the garden and do a little bit of a garden chat too and show you. We're taking a lot of our lawn and transforming it back to prairie, trying to plant native plants and plants that support biodiversity. So we'll send you on a little tour of that this summer, I think. But in the meantime, maybe you want to join us, and you could stitch on the following. Amy, I found a third pattern we could include in our Sal. So one is by Dirty Annie's. It's just called Monarch, and I'll throw a picture up here somewhere. The other one is by Silver Creek, and it's called Wings of Change, and it actually has a picture of milkweed with a monarch caterpillar on it. And then Carolyn Manning also has a pattern called Monarch, and I've been curious about that because I heard, let me think, I was watching Museum Stitcher, and Museum Stitcher talked about someone else who I think was like Lemonade Stitcher. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put everybody's names down in the description below. But that Stitcher is doing something really interesting with Carolyn Manning patterns, where they're turning them into like those corner bookmarks, the little triangular corner bookmarks. So they're able to stitch just a part of a Carolyn Manning and not feel tied down to stitching the whole pattern, which I know is basically like a full coverage pattern. So that could be something interesting to do with this Monarch Carolyn Manning pattern too. So if you would like to join us, you have plenty of time because we won't start till July. So you have some time to pick up patterns, and I'll list all those patterns below too. And it's Monarch Watch Sal. Monarch Watch is actually an organization that does a lot of research on monarchs. So they're actually a really interesting website to look into also. And then I think I'm the first to announce this, but I got the okay to announce this. This was, again, an idea of Jerica, and I think probably Julie both teamed up and started this, but I'm definitely in for this too. We just did Marumi May for Miriam. She's a near and dear friend to us, and so is Sarah from Modcross. She's a very dear stitchy friend, and so we would like to have a month of stitching for Sarah too. So Sarah, we're calling this the Mod About You Sal. Her designer name is Mod Cross on Etsy. And so Mod About You Sal. This is going to be in August. And we chose August because Sarah is participating for the first time in Needlework Expo. And so we hope that she'll be having a new pattern out at that time. So anyone who wants to look out for that pattern, or in the meantime, snap up a couple of really cute great Halloween patterns and great floral patterns from Sarah. You can start gathering your materials for that. So Mod About You, Sal. Julie thought you'd like that. It has a musical connection, Sarah, on that one. We can picture you singing it. And that will start in August. And if you probably already know, but Erin from Hathaway Stitchers and someone else who you're with, I can't remember, have paired up, and they've started a new Instagram account called Cross Stitch Salender, and it's just a list of sals, like all the possible sals. So if you run a sal and you want it to be listed and easy to find, you can message them and they'll share the info on it. So I will send the Mod About You Sal and Monarch Watch. I'll share both of those to them so they can post it on there too. I find that is such a great idea. It was a great idea, because there are times when I think, oh, I know someone mentioned a certain sal on a certain topic. I can't remember which floss tube I saw it in. I didn't write it down. Who is it? And now we'll have a kind of a visual archive of all the different sals going on. So, okay, folks, I think that's it. Thanks for listening to my ramblings today. I had other things I was going to tell you about, but I've missed some of the different things that I was going to mention. But anyway, I've had my ups and downs over the past couple months, and maybe you have too. And so hopefully we'll just keep hanging in there and be hopeful and do whatever we can in whatever capacity, use our talents to do something great for other people. And I was listening to a really good, I'll link it below. I was listening to a really interesting talk by Omkari Williams, who wrote a great book on activism for introverts. I feel like that's like half our stitchy community is introverts. Like, don't you think most of us, when we do Zoom chats with each other, we're equally comfortable being chatty, and we're equally comfortable in like the moments where it gets quiet and nobody's saying anything? Like, we're okay with quiet. But anyway, so Omkari Williams has written a really great book on activism for introverts, and how you can everybody's got talents that they can contribute to help do something transformative and changeful for helping, towards helping other people. So I love how Shelby, I was watching Veggie Stitches. Carly's one of my fave go-to Flosstubers, and now is joined by their partner Shelby. So like double the fun and fantasticness there. And Shelby mentioned despair, and I thought, yeah, that's definitely what I feel sometimes. The more you learn about the way things are, it's easy to have those moments where you feel hopeless or sad. And I also want to feel energized and want to keep connecting with people like you, and want to, talk about what I'm learning about and share my stitching and share culture and do all the things that, bring us together. So hopefully we can all find time to do that too. Okay. I'm going to be on summer break, so I might actually go back to checking in at the end of the month. I'll have a lot more time, so I will see you in about a month. Okay. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Bye.